Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Wherever you're joining us from, good morning. This is our family meeting. How are you and where are you joining where are you joining us from? I'm super excited for this one. We're talking about screen addiction and your children's mental health, right? Screen addiction, excessive use of screen, being attached to screen, being on screen, using screen too much. How does it affect your children's mental health and what can you do about it? If you're just joining, I would appreciate if you drop a comment to let me know where you're joining from. If you could share this link so that another parent who needs to be in this space would join this conversation, that would be helpful because this is a very, very important conversation. If we're meeting each other for the first time, my name is Dr. Vivian. I'm the founder of Minds and Wellbeing Network, and I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. And if you're joining us today, this is our family meeting, which is, a platform where we come together as parents to talk about, some of the challenges we have and to come up with solutions for those challenges, right? And screen time, you know, um, is a very, very important one because where our children are born in the digital age. They are, thank you Z, thanks for joining. They've come to meet this world where everything is now technology, everything is done in the technology space. Even for their academic work, you have to use tablets or a computer for some of the work, and all of those bits and bits. But then we're also finding out that being using this technology or being exposed to screen excessively can affect their mental health, can set them up, for dangers, health issues, in future, aside the other risk. We have dedicated this period to talk about, digital safety and all of that. So we have been talking about all of the risks that our children are exposed to just by being on their devices, right? So, but today we want to narrow it down to the mental health aspect of it and what we as parents can do preventatively, like to prevent them getting to that point where there is addiction or where there's a breakdown, or what we can do if they are already in that loop of excessive use. Because even for us, yeah, parents who are listening, some of us, myself included, were struggling with this addiction. If you would be honest with yourself, there are moments where you don't, like, if you're not with your phone for maybe 5-10 minutes, it looks like the world is gonna end. Yeah, I know that I did a detox 2 days ago and I practically switched off my personal phone for the whole day and nothing happened, nothing went wrong. So many of us are already really, really, really addicted. So imagine you as an adult with your fully developed brain and how that affects you. Then imagine a young child whose brain is still trying to develop, right? So what do we want to achieve with this session? In this session, we want to understand what screen addiction is. We want to know how our children actually come to this point of addiction. We want to know how excessive use of screen can impact our children's mental health. And then we want to know, as parents, what we can do to help them, navigate this. And if they're already in that space or in that loop of addiction, how can we break it? How can we win them off that device? And I'll share some strategies. I'll share specifically two main strategies that I shared in my current book, which is Parenting in the Digital Age. I will share them with you. There are thousands of, not thousands, sorry. There are many strategies in that book, but I'll share two main ones that I think you can start now to start using and to start helping your child break out of that loop of addiction, right? So what is really, really, really addiction? When we talk about addiction, and I'm not gonna go deep into scientific language or big grammar and all of that. When we talk about addiction, it just means that something is controlling you, that you have a compulsive need to do something that it almost seems like you cannot control yourself. You know, when it comes to that activity or when it comes to that action, it almost seems like that action overtakes you. There is a compulsive need for you to do that thing. So when we're talking about screen addiction, it just means that there is this compulsion that draws us to the screen, whether we need it, whether we don't need it, especially even when we have seen that it is not helpful, even when we have seen that it is causing problem. So just like any other addiction, smoking addiction, drinking addiction, the people who do these things, they know that this thing is not good for me, it's not helping me, it's not healthy for me, but they cannot help themselves. If you're addicted to social media, you find out that, oh, maybe you want to pray, and then you bring out your phone and you're scrolling for, you say, oh, let me check something, and then you find yourself, you have scrolled for 2 3 hours. You feel guilty in yourself that, I actually wanted to pray, or I actually wanted to study, or I actually wanted to do something important, but see how I've derailed and I've gone to scroll for almost 2 hours, and now I don't have time. But tomorrow you find yourself doing the same thing again, right? Even though you know that it's not good for you, even though you know that that's not helpful for you. So that's what addiction looks like. It almost feels like you cannot control yourself. It almost feels like there's nothing you can do about it. And so when we're talking about screen addiction, this is what happens, with our children. And when we talk about screen, yeah, most people, when we talk about screen, you think, oh, my child doesn't have a device, my child doesn't have a personal device. But screen isn't just phone, right? Screen includes TVs, screen includes tablets, computers, yeah. And another argument people have is, well, when they're on screen, what they're doing is educational games. But that doesn't stop, the addictive process. It doesn't matter what they're doing on screen, yeah. As far as they are stuck and glued to that, whole process, it gives the brain a reward, and that is what causes that addiction, right? Because there's a reward that comes from that activity. There's a feel good reward that comes from that activity, and then the person keeps coming back to get that reward. The person keeps coming back, and the brain starts to crave that reward. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's an educational game, it doesn't matter if it is an interactive game, it doesn't matter what it is they're doing on screen. If there is excessive use of screen and the brain is finding a reward in that activity, then it's gonna become addictive. Yeah, whether it's social media, whether it's TV, whether it's interactive games, whether it's educational game, whatever it is. So what do we see? How do we even know if our child is in that process of screen addiction? Number one is that when you remove the screen, there's massive tantrums. There is massive tantrums. Yeah. So there is nothing wrong in a child being sad when you limit screen time or when you cut screen time short, right? So most times, one of the things I do, yeah, it can be screen time for us, but if I come into the house and find out that everyone is mindless, so maybe I walk into the house, there is no presence of mind, and I find out that they're just glued to the TV or glued to the tablet doing something, I'm gonna off it. I'm gonna take it out. You cannot be mindless. You have to have presence of mind. You have to be aware of what's happening in your environment. So if I walk in, you have to raise your head and you have to engage me. So if I walk in and find out that everyone is mindless, everybody's like this on screen like a zombie, I'm gonna take the remote and I'm gonna off it. And there is nothing wrong with a child being upset by that sudden cutoff of that screen time. There is nothing wrong, right? But when it turns into tantrums, behavioral issues that you find out like it's almost like if you're taking their life away, then you know that you have a problem on your hand, right? Another thing you see that will make you question is also sneaking to use. When your child is sneaking, especially older kids, yeah, when they're sneaking to use their devices when it's not their screen time, so almost like they cannot control it. If we have said screen time is 2 hours, do your stuff in 2 hours, and after 2 hours, submit your tablet or submit your device. If you're sneaking to go and find your device, if you're sneaking to go and use, then that means you lack self-control in that regard. So that is a pointer that something is going on. Another thing you want to see is loss of interest in non-digital play. So when a child then loses interest in engaging with real human beings, in engaging with the world, in doing other activities that are outside of the screen, then you have a screen addict on your hand. When there is social withdrawal and avoidance. So if I'm not doing anything on the screen, then I'm just to myself. When your child starts to show up like that, when there is constant irritability, when there is constant loss of focus, mindlessness, then you want to check all of those things, right? And how does screen time affect your child's mental health? See, when we talk about mental health, people, especially people in Africa, are a bit detached, right? Because we feel like, oh, it's not an African thing. Oh, it's Oyibo people that talk about mental health. But in the last couple of years, I have actually worked with more African children who have issues around anxiety, around depression, around self-esteem issues, but who cannot speak to their parents about it because they feel like their parents will not understand, or their parents will trivialize or gaslight them. So that we don't understand it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And that our children are not speaking to us about it doesn't mean that they're not struggling with it. So when we talk about mental health, I think you should go and do your own personal study, personal research, and try to find your own conviction around mental health. And your convictions can vary, right? So as a Christian, it might vary. As a psychologist, my convictions might vary. So, but understand that as much as you have physical health problems, so as a Christian, yes, we believe that by his stripes we are healed, and we're not supposed to be sick in our body because Jesus died for us. But it doesn't mean that there's no sickness. Yeah. Sickness still exists, and a Christian can fall sick, and then you can fight from a place of victory based on your conviction in Christ and his healing promises to you. It's the same thing with mental health, yeah? It exists just as physical health exists. Yeah. So no matter how you want to see it, these things exist. And if you allow it, and if you just form ignorance, your child might be struggling under your nose, and you will not know. Yeah. So that brings me back. Sorry for digressing. How do you know that your child's mental health is being impacted, especially as it relates to their use of screen? Number one thing is the overstimulation and attention fatigue. Yes, so your child's attention is really, really affected. And because screen, you know how screens are, the colors, the sound, everything is fast. It overstimulates, right? And it can overwhelm the brain, right? It affects brain development. It affects the development of the thinking part of the brain, because our brain is not wired to get information at the speed at which, especially in childhood, right, at the speed at which our children are getting information now. It's almost like you open a screen and there are thousands of things calling for your attention. There is no room for you to think. There is no room for you to embrace your imagination. So our children, that part of the brain that is supposed to be the thinking brain, that is supposed to be the decision making part of the brain, is not being strengthened. That muscle is not being built because everything is done for them. At the press of a button, everything comes in. There is no thinking, there is no imagination. Videos are there, explanatory videos are, just everything, information is just too much, so they're not thinking. They don't even see any. I work with a lot of teenagers. They don't even see any need to engage the brain in thinking. Like, the brain is literally lazy, so the thinking part of the brain is not being developed. And one of the things I did for my kids, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, was, prior to now, they used to do a lot of podcasts, right? Story podcasts. And what did that help them achieve? Or what was I trying to help them achieve with that? One of the things is to engage their imagination, engage their thinking brain. So when they're listening to the stories, they're able to imagine what is being said in their own thoughts, in their own images and all of that, and figure it out. And most times when I talk about it with my son, the imagination is different. And when I talk about it with my daughter, the imagination is different. So they're actually engaging the brain as opposed to TV, yeah, where the pictures are there, where everything is there. So you're not just thinking, you're just being entertained and you're just looking and watching. So it affects, the thinking part of the brain, and it reduces the ability to self-regulate. Yeah. So if you have, even as an adult, yeah, um, if you have engaged with social media, you find out that you come on social media and in 3 minutes, right, you can actually feel up to 10 emotions. So for example, you see one post and it's so irritating, you see another post, you're so angry, you see another one, oh, you're smiling, ah, you know your emotions are being dragged up, down, like in milliseconds, right? You don't have control of the emotions you're feeling. You're not even allowed to finish feeling what you're feeling, and then the next emotion is triggered. And that's why sometimes you go on social media, you come out and you feel very overwhelmed. It's not like you've done anything physical, but it's because you're being pulled in different direction. And it's the same thing with our kids, yeah. And the problem is that their ability to regulate, even at their age, because of their level of brain development, is even way lower than us. Their level of self-awareness to even know what they're feeling is way lower than what we have as adults. So this affects and impacts their self-regulation. So their emotions are up, down, up, down, up, down. And this is why, if you observe, if you want to experiment, please do, right? The holiday is here. Allow your kids to use screens without supervision for maybe 2-3 days and watch their behavior, and then remove the screen for 2-3 days and watch their behavior. You will see a difference in their ability to cope, in their ability, in their irritability level, and their ability to self-regulate. So it really, really affects the ability to regulate, and it imposes health risk, mental health risk in the future, some of which are, for example, sleep disorders. The blue light that emanates from screen, most of the screens that we have emits blue light, right? Those blue lights affects the hormone, melatonin, the sleep hormone. It disrupts it. Yeah, so this is why it's advised that 1 hour before your bedtime, don't use screen, right? So that the sleep hormone can kick in, the melatonin can kick in, and you're able to maintain your sleep cycle. But for young people or even adults who use excessive screen, yeah, it disrupts the melatonin, and then it disrupts your sleep cycle, and it can lead to sleep disorders in the future. Yeah. Depression, because aside the content that is consumed on those spaces and the comparison that arises, there's also that isolation, there's also that dependence of screen, and there's also cyberbullying, where and cyberbullying can really be subtle. Yeah, cyberbullying may not be that someone is coming against your child. It can be hurtful comments, it can be snide remarks, and you know how kids are. So for you as an adult, you might see some of those comments, and you're like, get over it, they don't mean it. Or you can say, you're more beautiful, you're beautiful, don't pay attention to them. But it doesn't just end like that. For a child will suck it in, a child will dwell on it, because they have that tendency to seek validation. Right now, especially children born now, it's almost like social media validate things for them. Yeah, so when people make comments, when people are not liking, when people are not following, when people make snide comments about their looks, about their content, about their whatever they're doing out there, it can, even in the games, yeah, interactive games, like some of you that your children play Fortnite and Roblox, you pay attention to those things. There are subtle bullying happening there, and your child may not come to you with them, but it's happening and it's impacting them, and they're internalizing all of those thoughts, and you don't know how that's it's impacting them. And this is really why we created the safety in inner circle, right? Safety in circle, yeah. And the reason for that is because some of these things as parents we may not pay attention to, and some of these things as parents our children may not be vocal about them, so we think it's not happening. But as a psychologist and as a mental health therapist, I know how to probe for them to be able to open up about these things. And this is one of the things we want to do in this space, to create that space where these children can open up and share some of the challenges that they have that they don't know how to bring to you. And what that does for you is that we're now able to help you know what's going on and how best to support your child, and the conversations to start to even make them open up to you at home. Yes. So if you haven't registered your teenager or your child 10 to 17, if you have, if you haven't, please try and look into that. It's a 6 months mentorship program, and it's really, really affordable. I actually made it affordable like that up until Easter Sunday for as many people as possible to join that program. So we've talked about delayed emotional development. No, we've talked about delayed brain effects on brain development. Then there's delayed emotional development, right? That comes with screen, because children are using screens as emotional pacifier. So, and we use it as emotional pacifier for them as well. Even as babies, when they cry, you put baby shark do 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 do. So the child doesn't learn how to deal with their own emotion, how to manage their own emotion, how to process their own emotion. It's almost like they're feeling something, then there is this screen that comes to make them feel happy again. So you're then raising children who will grow up into adults that don't know how to sit with their emotion, don't know how to process their emotion, don't know how to deal with their emotion. They're going to become children who seek for things to pacify their emotions. So when they feel sad, it's still that reward system. So when they feel sad, they are looking out for what can make me happy so that I don't have to deal with this sadness. And sometimes, if they grow into adults, it may not really be screens again that they go to as pacifiers. It may then become other things. It may then become other bad habits, smoking, sex, and things. So it affects their ability to develop their emotional capacity, and we're really opening them up to dangers in the future. It's important that as young as they are, we're teaching them that when you feel an emotion, you sit with it, you process it, you regulate yourself, and that's how they build that muscle to be in touch, to grow in emotional intelligence, right? So really, really important. Don't use screen as a pacifier. Oh, they're sad. Oh, go and use put cocoa melon for them. Oh, go and, I'm angry. I'm bored. You're using it as emotional pacifiers. Children should learn their natural capacity to, accommodate their emotions, feel it and process it and come out at the other end. And as they do that, they build that, capacity. There's also reduced resilience, right? Because children can no longer tolerate boredom. They can no longer tolerate anything that feels like it has to take time, it has to take process. Everything is fast, right? So there's no resilience. Everything is fast. If I feel bored, there's an entertainment. If I feel like I don't want to talk to someone, there's an entertainment. If I feel like I don't want to do my work, there's an entertainment. So they're not building resilience. So we're not actually preparing them for the real world, right? So that we're gonna raise zombies who go on the screen for every little discomfort, who scroll mindlessly on social media, for every little discomfort, who break down, who do not have the emotional capacity, who do not have the resilience to actually deal with anything. And this is the root cause of a lot of mental health challenges. A lot of mental health challenges, anxiety, depression are all rooted in that lack of emotional capacity and lack of resilience to deal with the challenges, the normal real life stresses and challenges of the world. Yeah. So when we don't manage the use of screen for our children, we're exposing them to emotional dysregulation, we're exposing them to shortened attention span, we're exposing them to loss of curiosity. The world is beautiful. We should teach our children to engage in the world and in the physical world. We're exposing them to mental health struggle, and more even we're disrupting the relationship that we could enjoy with our children, because most of us, we're not even connecting as a family because we ourselves are addicted to screen, and then our children are addicted to screen as well. You go into a living room of a family and everyone is on their phone. Daddy is on TV, mommy is on phone, the children are on the tablets. Nobody is engaging in the real life, conversation. I shared last time about a young person that came to me. She was struggling with depression at the time, and when I asked how many, who else in, because it was glaring the things she was sharing with me that, if you are living in the same space with her, you should have picked that up. So when I asked who else in your home is aware of what is going on, and she's like, oh, in my house we don't connect like that. It's almost like everybody does their own thing. We just come out, pick our food, you go upstairs, and everybody's in their room doing their stuff. Please don't do that. Connect, build real time relationship with your children. Let there be times where you're not using your devices. Monitor what is going on. So what can you do as a parent? Right, so this is the main conversation. What can you do as a parent? Guys, if you're following, if you can hear me, if you're following with the conversation, and if it is making sense, let me know by typing sense in the chat box. Sense or nonsense, yeah. Type sense if it's making sense. If it's not making sense, type nonsense in the chat box before we go into what we can do as parents to help our children manage screen time. Sense or no sense, I need to know that you're with me. I need to know that I'm not talking to just myself. Let me see you in the chat box. Let me see you in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you, Zelifa. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So what can we do, right? We can prevent, if your children are still young, good for you. You can prevent them from getting to that point of addiction. One thing I want you to know is that everybody is doing it doesn't mean that it's right. Giving your children devices is not a status symbol. It's not a status symbol. It's not something that you must do, right? You don't have to do it. So someone, my daughter is 10, and in her class, 90% of the people in her, 90%, okay, let me not say 90%, at least 70 to 80% of children in her class, primary 5, I'm in the UK, they have phone, they have smartphones, yeah. And I was telling my daughter already knows that she's not getting a phone until she's 16. And we've had this conversation for the past 4 or 5 years now. And she's aware. She's just really counting down to 16 when she gets a personal phone. And I was having a conversation with someone, and the person said, but it's going to make her not to be confident if her mates have phone and she doesn't have phone. If everybody in her class, for example, has a smartphone and she doesn't have a smartphone, it's going to make her lose her self-confidence. And I'm like, no. And I know that is a legitimate worry for a lot of parents. Like, how can my child be the only one left out? It's okay to teach your children. that is actually okay to be the different one. Teach your children that it's okay to be the different person. Yeah. Someone said it's gonna make my child socially awkward. See, if the excuse me, if the other pillars of her confidence are being fed well, it's not phone that will drive the confidence down. It's not having phone that will drive the confidence down. If the connection, if the relationship, if the conversation is happening, and if her confidence and self-esteem is being fed well, is being fed with real food, words of affirmation and word of God, if it's being fed well, she would be fine. And let me tell you, if I can afford a car and decide not to buy a car, there is nothing someone can tell me to make me feel bad about not having a car. Because I know that if I actually want a car today, I can go into the bank, get my money, and buy my car. So if my child knows that if phone is the problem, she can get the phone. It's not like we're poor. It's not like we cannot afford the phone. We can actually afford a phone, but we have had long, hard conversations about reasons why we cannot have a phone right now, which those reasons are actually, I'm not saying it's because of me or what I fear or, and all of that. Those reasons are communicated in a way that makes her understand that it's for her own good, for her own best interest, for protection of her focus and protection of her brain. If we have had that conversation over, and over again, she is aware of why she doesn't have a phone, and it's not going to be a problem. Yes, she's a human being, she's a child, she's going to feel bad. Oh, why can't I do what others are doing every now and again? And then she would get the reassurances she needs. But that everybody is doing it is not an excuse for me to destroy my child's life just because I want to give in. Pay attention to everything we have said up until now and how this can affect your child in the long run. Is it really worth it? Is it really, really worth it? I don't think it is. I have seen what this does to children firsthand. I work with young people. I have seen what it does to children. 99% of the children who come to our interventions, I work with an intervention service here in the UK. 99% of the children who come to our intervention service, if we remove their phone, 80% of their problems will be solved, right? If we remove their access to phone, 80% of their problems will be solved. I tell you. So it's not worth it. So start, if your children are young, start having the conversation. There are conversations that you can have when they are 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and when they're in their teenage years. I have all of this broken down in my book, Parenting in the Digital Age. Start with the conversation, start setting that limit. Start engaging them in real world activities. Set the limit. Look at the WHO guideline for what's for the screen time, for the amount of screen time that you should expose your child to age by age. I think from 0 to 2, you're not even you're supposed to expose them to any screen time. It's supposed to be 0 hours. Yeah. While that might look very, very unrealistic in this present day and time, but the thing I want to tell you is as little as possible. As little as possible, especially if they're young. But if your children are already exposed to screen time, remember, screen is not just having a personal phone. They have a tablet, they watch TVs, they play games, roadblocks, and all of those things. Those are screen time, right? Start with a conversation. And the conversation looks like, right, we have had this conversation, now take it back to your dinner table. Guys, we're going to do something and always have that conversation because of how it is beneficial to them, not to feed your ego. Think about it. How is this important to my child, to their development, to their well-being, and communicate that to them. Don't think children do not understand. They have the capacity to understand way much more than we give them credit for. And you need to have the patience to explain to them when they ask you questions, because that's what will help them understand. So if you're saying we're going to limit screen time, they're going to ask why. Be patient to explain to them why. Have your facts together, have your reasons together. You have enough facts explained in this video already. Write them down, have your facts together, and have your reasons well put together, as if you're going to make a presentation actually, because they're going to come with questions. So answer their questions. See, just like marketing, parenting and selling your values to your child is just like marketing. So you have to market it in a way that you can sell it to them and they will buy it. Yeah, so that's how important it is. So have your facts together, have that conversation. Then together as a family, come up with the boundaries that you need to set, right? So come up with your agreements, come up with your family media agreements. In my book, Parenting in the Digital Age, I wrote out templates for family media agreement for the different age groups. So if you buy the book, you will have the process of making that decision. You also have the templates for writing the agreement and the contracts, and everybody will sign, right? Then come up with rituals as well. So rituals that promote screen-free time. So for example, a ritual would be free time, like there are screen-free zones. So for example, for us, the dinner table is a screen-free zone, right? So you don't come with screen anytime near mealtime. So come up with, such rituals, right? Device-free zones, activities in your home that actually promote real-life engagement without, devices, right? Then there's something in my book that I called the technology sandwich approach, and that is ensuring that you're mixing physical activities with screen time activities. So if it is a day where they're allowed to have screen time, for example, my kids have screen time only during weekends. So you want to also not allow them just to have it without engaging them with other activities, right? So what does it look like? We have a physical activity, then we have a short time on screen, then we have another physical activity. So for example, today is going to look like we'll go for swimming, and then we'll go for grocery shopping, and then when we come back, as I'm unpacking the grocery shopping and putting things together, they can have 1 hour of downtime on their screen. And after that, we start to cook, and everybody comes out and we do the cooking. And after we have cooked and we have eaten, then they can have another hour on their screen time. So really sandwiching activities, physical activities, connection activity, with screen time as well. Then there is something else I shared in my book, Parenting in the Digital Age, and I called it intentional technology use method. And this is really like 3 simple questions, especially when you have older kids or young adults or older teens who are now in the process of using screen independently, like giving them, teaching them how to use screen intentionally. You can even use this as an adult, yourself as a parent, yeah. And it's just really 3 simple questions, 3 simple profound questions that you can teach them to consciously and constantly ask themselves as at any moment they want to engage with their device. And one of that is to ask yourself, what am I planning to do on this device right now? Right. So when you pick up your device, I'm going to get to your question, Tina. When you pick up your device, right, ask yourself, I do that. Yeah. When you pick up your device, you see how sometimes you pick up your device and you don't even know what you're looking for. And then you scroll from WhatsApp to Instagram to Facebook, and then you come out, you're like, oh, whoa, what did I want to do with this phone? Yeah. So ask them to ask this question. It gives them that skill to use. Sorry, excuse me. I just have this sneeze coming in. It teaches them how to use the screen intentionally, how to engage with intention, not engage mindlessly. Yeah. So the first question is, what are you about to do on your tablet right now? Yeah, teach them to ask it. The moment they pick their tablet, if you have screen time at home, when they're about to pick it, it might be that where they submit their tablets or where they submit their devices in a basket, you have these questions written on that wall. You know, what are you planning to do on your device today? How much time do you think you will need? So if you already have established time, so for example, if we already decided that screen time on Saturday is 3 hours, yeah. But because us right now we're sandwiching and we're breaking those 3 hours into 1 hour blocks. So you can ask this question: how much time do you need to do this thing you want to do on your tablet right now? Right? That's the second question. And then the final question is, how will you know when you're finished? Because most times, we go on screen, we say we want to do something, we're finished with that thing, but we don't come out because then other things pull us in and we end up spending hours and hours doing things that we have no business doing. So, really asking that question: how will you know you are done with what you want to do on your device at this block of time? Really helps, right? So the child knows, okay, because I say this because for me, yeah, restriction is not the goal. Okay, my child just went on a course to start her own YouTube channel. So when you hear me talk, don't think that I'm saying take away the device, block them out, don't do. No, they're in a time where they need devices. There are children who are going to be coders, there are children who are going to be tech gurus, right? But intentional use. So, for example, if it is content creation day for my daughter and she's coming to pick her device to create content, or my device to create content, the question we're going to ask these three questions: what do you want to do right now? How much time do you think you need to achieve this thing? And how would you know that you're done? So it can look like, okay, I want to film my video for my YouTube channel. I need an hour to film that video. And I'll know that I'm done after I have filmed the video, after I've edited it, after I've saved it, or I have uploaded it. Yeah. So you're teaching them that using your device is not just going to pick a device and then, scrolling forever and ever without aim. Remember what we also said about teaching our children to be producers and not consumers when they come in, when they engage with their digital space. So yeah, so these are just some things that you can do as a parent to either prevent or to, help your child use screen intentionally. And then if they're already really, really, really addicted, then there is the weaning process. It's not just abrupt restriction, right? I shared a video this week where a child, a 13-year-old, their parents took away their device and they ran away from home and they ended up finding him dead. And we can say, oh, it cannot happen to us because we're Africans. Where are you running to? Yeah, it may not lead to them running and them dying, but it could lead to them, severing their relationship with you, becoming really, really, having behavioral challenges just because they feel like they have not been treated fairly. You also don't want that. So, and to be fair to them, if they're at that point of addiction, is also because we haven't protected them well enough not to get to that point. So you can't expose them to that much screen and then one day you hear an information and you'll be like, okay, we're cutting this short. No, just like you wean a child from breast milk, you also have to wean them from that process. So it is gradual. Start with that conversation, set that boundaries, and then gradually reduce the exposure to screen time until they start to get used to it. And then you come to a balance. Yeah. And as you're teaching them, things, there are loads of things, guys. There are loads and loads of things. And I have my book. It is 10 chapters, 10 whole chapters, talking about keeping your children safe and helping them make decisions about their how they engage with the digital world. Teaching them how to engage responsibly and how to build the resilience to be on that space. So 10 whole chapters, guys, over 200 pages of things that you can do. So please, if you haven't gotten that book, try. It's not because I'm the one that wrote it, but it is really, 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 really packed. Try. And if you have teenagers, 10 years to 17 years, we're even doing junior. We're doing junior. I think we might reduce it to 8 years because we have got a lot of inquiries for 8 and 9 years who have tablets and stuff. So we will do a junior class. So if you have your children, please sign them up to the Safe Teen Circle. And we're not just talking about digital safety. Yes, digital safety, major conversation, but it's just really a safe space to help your children. We're talking mental health, we're talking bullying. If you're in the abroad, please do not ignore what your children are up against. Every black skinned child being raised in the West is struggling. And I mean every is struggling. There are subtle racial bullying. It's not some of them, if you're in the UK, some of them are not very glaring. They're very covert, but children are dealing with these things. And we really want to open up that space where, because I work with children in the UK, so I know what they're going through and I know how to support. And this is not to say you don't know how to support. I want to work with your children and work with yourself as well to help you know how best to support them. So if you haven't registered your children, please register now. It's just 50,000 for 6 whole months of being with your children. It's going to happen on Zoom, but we also have drop-ins and safe spaces where they can reach out to me personally and directly to share outside of the group as well. So please, Chia, so can you share the link? I think the links would be in the description of this video when I finally upload them. If you register, the thing is, if you register for the Safe Teen Circle, you get the book for free, right? So you don't need to buy the book if you register your young people. But if you want the book alone, you can just get the book alone as well. Yeah. So let me answer question. Does your child have a tablet as they do not have a phone? Yeah. They have a tablet. They have a tablet, but it's really regulated. Really regulated. They have a tablet because for for almost over a year when we moved to the UK, I refused to buy a television because I was studying, so I did not want to buy a TV. So I needed to get them some form of entertainment as well. So we got a tablet for them and they use the tablet, but it's really managed as well. Yeah. So do we have any other question? Any question about what we have learned? Any question about the how to get the book? So if you are a paperback person right now, we the pre-order of the book, the pre-order is on. So you can pre-order in Nigeria, you can pre-order on Seller in the UK or in the Canada or abroad. Or if you're in Nigeria and you buy on Amazon, you do Amazon Kindle, you can also pre-order on Amazon Kindle. The paperback isn't out yet, but we have a wait list. If you want the paperback, which is going to be on Amazon by the first week in May, then please join that wait list so you'll be the first person to know, and we can give it to you at a reduced price when it is published before we put it at the original price. So join the wait list for those who want paperback. So you'll be the one to know in the first week of publishing the paperback. We'll give it to you at a very reduced price, and after that it goes to the original price. There's the link is in the description of this video somewhere. I look forward to getting your orders. I look forward to welcoming your teenagers to the Safe Teen Circle. And the goal really, like I keep saying, is to provide that safe space where your young people can learn to be open with some of the challenges that they have, because we are professionals. We know how to get in their head. We know how to get these things out. And we're not doing it to boycott you, because sometimes parents feel like, oh, my child is talking to you more than they're talking to me. we're doing it to support you. If you look back at a time where you were a teenager as well, it's not everything you shared with your mom and dad. Yeah. And for me personally, if you're like me, I wished I had someone whom I could really share those things, who would understand me, who would not judge me. As a parent, you're very, very protective of a child, and you would swing into um solution mode. If your child shared some of the things with you, you will swing into protective mode, and sometimes swinging into that mode doesn't really help your child so much. Swinging into that judgment mode doesn't really help your child so much. So we know how to make that space where they feel comfortable to share. Then we inform you on how best to navigate those challenges. So it's really, really a safe space, and where they can share any struggle. I have seen children who their parents did not even know they were self-harming. I have seen children who their parents did not even know they were suicidal. I have seen children who their parents did not even know they were being racially bullied in school, or bullied, those of them in Africa, bullied in school. I've seen children who were struggling with their confidence, and their parents were not really, really aware of the extent of what they were going through. So when we get to know these things, then we feedback you, and then we let you know what best to do and how best to approach them. That's why we created that space. So go ahead, sign them up. It's still on the reduced price, 50,000 for 6 months, 35,000 for 3 months. And if you just want to see what it looks like for 1 month, it's just 20,000. So sign them up. By Easter Sunday, the price goes back, and it's gonna be 100,000 for 6 months, which is the original price. So see you guys, and I look forward to hearing from you. Send us a message, and we're always here. And see you back at the family meeting in 2 weeks. Take care, and bye. So, Tina says, so the 9-year-olds can join the boot camp. Yes, 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 they can join the boot camp. Indeed, is asking for link to the mentoring class, please. Yes, so please share the link to the mentoring class. I will share all of that in the what's it called, in our group on Telegram and on WhatsApp as well. So yeah, 9-year-olds can join. Yeah, 9-year-olds can join. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.